What is up, YouTube? I'm Gal874 here, bringing you guys week 2 of the APM. This week we are taking on Hanch, coach of the Chicago Bulus. We are both going into this game with an 0-1 record, so one of us will walk out with our first win today. To recap for you guys, I am going to spoil week 1, how it went. We got our ass absolutely handed to us by Enrique. Enrique has my number, and he just played really phenomenally in that matchup, so we dropped down. We got 6-0. That was really bad. But hopefully this week we can come back and pick up a W. We have faced Hanch in the past in the APM lower tiers, and we were able to beat him there. So hopefully we can go 2-0 against Hanch at least. But to let you guys know, there is a big problem we have in the way, and it's the fact that he has answers to every single offensive mon on my team, like good answers. And that's going to be a serious problem, as I'll break down a little bit more in the team builder. But I just want to let you guys know that this won't be the easiest matchup in the entire world. It's possible, but that's basically a little bit of a prelude for this video, as I'm going to now go over Hanch's team. My week 2 opponent Hanch has a team this week consisting of Nihiligo, Hydreigon, Ferrothorn, Sylveon, Mamoswine, Lucario, Blastoise, Crobat, Delphox, Alolan Raichu, Kecleon, and Dustox that can Dynamax. Now I expect him to consist of the Nihiligo, Hydreigon, Sylveon, Mamoswine, Lucario, and the Crobat. He could also bring the Ferrothorn, because Ferrothorn has a pretty solid matchup, as well as the Blastoise isn't that bad either. But that's basically what I'm expecting my opponent to bring. And what I mentioned earlier when he has answers to everything, let me just run down the list real quick. Blacephalon, Hydreigon is sitting right there, it's really good switching. Superior, Crobat is a really good answer to it, as well as Ferrothorn. Heracross, Sylveon sits right there. Gliscor, Crobat again is the solid switch-in. You see the trend that's going on. His team is so annoying because I have a hard time breaking down his team because he has really good answers to all of my offense. So I have to look at it from more of a defensive standpoint. My defense is pretty solid against him overall, particularly Magnezone. Magnezone has a really solid matchup overall if I play it correctly. I have to be a little bit careful about Mamoswine because Mamoswine is a little bit annoying and a little bit hard to switch into. And if I give Mamoswine some free turns, let's say I click Thunderbolt, it could be a little bit of a problem. So I do have to play around that a bit. But again, my defense isn't that bad, and actually for my win con this week, I'm actually going for Malamar. I have Malamar on my team, and if I can weaken things down, I can just boost up the superpower late game. My opponent does not have much for fighting Psychic and Dark coverage, as it just kind of runs through his team. As I'll break that a little bit more down when I get to Malamar. But that's overall just a quick rundown of my opponent's team. What I am bringing this week, it consists of Heracross, Goodra, Magnezone, Blacephalon, Milotic, and Malamar. So first up on the squad this week is going to be Heracross. Heracross is holding the Flame Orb with the Guts ability, moves being Close Combat, Earthquake, Facade, and Protect. This is meant to break through my opponent's team, as his team is kind of weak to fighting and ground coverage, and Facade was a really good neutral coverage answer to almost anything on my opponent's team. He does not have a Ghost type, so Facade's doing some type of damage to everything. Protect is just to either scout out for like Scarfers or whatever, and just to get my Flame Orb activated. And then again, just CC is really spammable. Facade is really good for stuff like Sylveon and Crobat, which mainly wall me overall. It does about 75 to Crobat and around half to Sylveon. It's like a roll, so I wouldn't want to risk that. But this is here just to mainly break through his team. The main problem with Heracross in this matchup is that it's actually pretty slow in comparison to my opponent, because my opponent does have a fast team. And a lot of things faster than me actually can resist close combat, like the Delphox, the Alolan Raichu, Crobat. So I do have to be careful of what move I'm going to need to be clicking on what mon, and just make sure I can kill what's in front of me while also getting some momentum if he switches out as well. So clicking a move might be a little bit scuffed on this thing, but outside of that, I think Heracross is going to do a pretty good job breaking my opponent. Next up we have Goodra. Goodra is just a bunch of bulk with leftovers and Sap Sipper, moves being Dragon Pulse, Flamethrower, Earthquake, and Toxic. I originally wanted the Assault Vest, but I thought Sludge Bomb was doing nothing to Sylveon, so if I can just Toxic that, at least I can force it to Heal Bell or something like that. Flamethrower is good for stuff like the Ferrothorn, because it's a pretty good switch-in because I have Sap Sipper. He can't be touching me too much overall. And it's just a really good special wall. Delphox, Alolan Raichu, a special Lucario just does not deal with Goodra whatsoever. Even like Nihiligo too just does nothing to me, and I can just, bop it with Earthquake. My coverage moves are really good. I just gotta watch out for the Sylveon, because that basically walls my entire set outside of, again, Toxic. But that is just basically the rundown of Goodra. Goodra's one of the best mons in this matchup, if not Heracross, so hopefully it does put in some work. Next up we have Magnezone. Magnezone has the Assault Vest with a decent amount of offense and some bulk, with Volt Switch, Thunderbolt, Flash Cannon, and Hidden Power Fire. I am never beating that Lucario 101, but at least I could probably beat that Ferrothorn. HP Fire is really good. It does half most of the time. I think it's a guaranteed 2-co with this investment. I could be wrong. And then Volt Switch and then Thunderbolt and Flash Cannon just really good against my opponent. It just completely shuts down Crobat. It shuts down Blastoise for the most part. And it doesn't shut down Hydreigon, but I can take any one hit from Hydreigon. So I guess in that sense, I can at least pivot into Hydreigon that way. As well as Nihilego as well, because Nihilego doesn't get Earth Power like I thought. So I can just wall a lot of things on my opponent's side, and Dustox too. See, the list just keeps going on. And I can at least maintain some momentum with the Volt Switch. As I mentioned earlier, I do have to be careful of Mamoswine. Mamoswine does not like Flash Cannon whatsoever, but if he does get the prediction correct, I do have to switch into something else. And that could be a little bit scary. And this, finally, is my switch into the Sylveon, because Sylveon isn't doing anything outside of Mystical Fire. And if he has Mystical Fire, he is giving up something on his set. That is basically the Magnezone. Hopefully I use it well this time, because I used it pretty awful last week. Next up, we have Blacephalon. Blacephalon is holding the Expert Belt with Max Attack, moves being a Flamethrower, Shadow Ball, Psyshock, and HP Ice. I am very skeptical about bringing this thing after last week, because he's got Hydreigon, which is a really good switch into this thing overall. And even the Sylveon takes hits pretty well for me. Granted, Sylveon doesn't do much back. I do have Psyshock for the Nihilego, so at least that doesn't wall me. HP Ice does like 60 to an offensive Hydreigon, which he could run still. And then, again, just neutral cover. Everything else is pretty good. Like, Flamethrower Shadow Ball is really good for the most of his team as well. If he does decide to bring a defensive Blastoise, that could be a little bit annoying, as well as, like, AV Kecleon. I might have a little bit of struggles there. But overall, Blacephalon, it looks pretty good in this matchup. I do, of course, have to get rid of the Hydreigon, but outside of that, it's not that bad. And even if I get a Beast Boost and he is offensive for, whatever reason, and HP Ice just almost nukes it. So there's some positives to this thing. I am skeptical because I did want to bring a few other things over the slot, and I did bring Blacephalon. Not sure how I feel about it, but we're going to rock with it and see how it goes. Fifth up, we have Milotic. Milotic is max defensive with a Flame or Marble Scale. Moves being Scald, Ice Beam, Toxic, and Recover. If he's a Shell Smash Blastoise, then Toxic basically ruins that. There's no way you run sub Shell Smash. That'd be wild. And then this is just really good as a physical wall against his team. I needed something here, and nothing was really taking Earthquakes effectively from the Mamoswine, so I guess this is something. As well as a physical Lucario, I can beat that down with this as well. That's why I decided to forego Haze, because I felt like either Scald or Toxic was good enough for his setup mons. And that's kind of my logic mainly here for the Mamoswine and physical Lucario. It's a backup switch into Hydreigon if Magnezone is too pressured. Blastoise as well if he wants to be a defensive version, because I have the Flame Orb, he can't Toxic me, and I can just Toxic him. And just a bunch of other things as well. Milotic's pretty good. It is pretty fat, and it can't touch the Ferrothorn, but Ferrothorn is not that scary against my team overall. So I don't think I'm not that too worried about it overall. And that is just basically a quick rundown of Milotic. And then finally we have our win con. We have Malamar. Malamar has a really interesting EV spread with leftovers. Moves being Superpower, Throat Chop, Psycho Cut, and Sub. I have Throat Chop over Knockoff because with Throat Chop I always beat the Sylveon, because Sylveon's going to be running Hyper Voice. Throat Chop it can't use it, and then I beat it all of a sudden. That was some nice real tech I really liked. And the big selling point for me on this set is why it's here, is that with Fighting, Psychic, and Dark coverage, only 2 mons are not hit super effectively. That is Sylveon and Blastoise. I just said that Sylveon I beat offensively. In Blastoise I can either chip down, or if it's a defensive Blastoise, I can basically break through it with enough boosts. And that's why I'm not too worried about that overall. I do have to be careful of U-turn, but realistically his only good U-turner is Crobat, and I can beat that if I'm boosted up enough. That and his special attackers. I do have a lot of special bulk, so I am able to take any one hit from any special attacker for the most part. But I do have to be careful if he brings a lot of special attackers. I can't beat his team, so I definitely have to beat some of them before I just come in and start playing with this thing. But hopefully it does a lot of work. It hits almost everything super effectively, so that's a good plus for Malamar. And that's basically going to wrap it up for this team this week. I'm a little bit skeptical about Blacephalon because he just kind of has a decent amount of answers to it overall. And the same with like the Heracross. It's a little bit skeptical because it's just the speed tier is not that great on it overall. But I think this team will do some work. It's going to do better than last week, I can tell you that. But we're going to head over to the Pokemon Showdown and we're going to watch the battle. We are here on Pokemon Showdown, and my opponent actually did not bring the Sylveon, so that really threw me off guard. He did bring the Ferrothorn, though. That's fine. Heracross and Magnezone look actually really good in this matchup, so I'm going to keep that in the back of my mind. And speaking of those two mons, at least Heracross, I'm going to lead off with it just to get my Flame Orb activated early. As he leads off with the Crobat, that is literally the worst thing that could have led, but I can still get my Flame Orb off regardless with the Protect, as he just goes for the, the Brave Bird, as I'd expect. And now I have my Guts boosted. Obviously can't stay in because it's a Crobat, so I'm going to go out into the Magnezone and pretty much walls this thing as he goes for the Super Fang and misses. That's really big because I mentioned that Magnezone is really good in this matchup, and I just threw it out recklessly as he throws out Super Fang, but he missed, so unfortunate for my opponent. As he does go into Mamoswine on my Thunderbolt. I didn't think he'd go hard Mamoswine that early in the game, but I guess that's how it is. I'm going into my Milotic now. Milotic is a good switch into the Mamoswine, as I'm going to get my Flame Orb activated on this thing as well. And the fact that he's Life Orb is actually kind of nice, so we can chip him. I can try and chip him down through that throughout the battle, as I can just recover up now as the Raichu comes out. This Raichu is not a threat to my team because I have the Goodra and Magnezone in the back. I'm going to go into Goodra first just because Magnezone is a little bit... They're both important in this game, but I feel like Goodra is just a better switch in. As now I can just fire off a free Dragon Pulse because he didn't bring the Sylveon out into the Mamoswine, and I crit the Mamoswine. That sucks for my opponent because now he gets way less hits with that Life Orb Mamoswine, so I do apologize for that. The hacks is going in my favor so far. I'm going to again go out into the Milotic because it's my best switch into this thing every time. As he clicks Icicle Crash, I was kind of hoping he would actually hit that because I wouldn't do too much and he would get the Life Orb recoil, but it happens. That hack is actually not really good for me. As he goes out into the Raichu hard, I actually just fire off a Scald because I'm at a really nice amount of health still. As he takes a decent amount, almost half, so that's pretty nice. As I just go out into the Magnezone just to switch up my switches, as he just Volt Switches this time around. I am AV, so it does absolutely nothing. He goes hard out into Mamoswine. I need Magnezone, so I can go out the Milotic as he catches me with the Ferrothorn play. That's pretty smart because of how, that allows him to get up rocks or spikes or whatever now. So I had to go out into Malamar. I feel like this is an opportunity to go more offensive. With Hydreigon, I can't go Blacephalon, so that's why I went Malamar. And here I go for Superpower. What I should have done was gone for Sub, except to Leech Seed. As you're going to see here, he actually does bust out the Leech Seed. So I kind of throw out Malamar right here just because of that. This cannot no longer really clean his team up now, or at least do some damage. So I'm going to switch out and save it for later. As here I go into Heracross, and I throw the entire game out the window as he goes for Gyro Ball. That is such a big turn because Heracross is so good in this matchup, and I just threw out Heracross for no reason. And you're going to see here now, I'm going to switch out and go into the Magnezone. Which, going to Magnezone is not a bad play, but it's more of I didn't get any damage off of the Heracross, and I just threw out Heracross for no reason. That was such a big turn, as now Ferrothorn comes out on my Magnezone, so that's screaming that he has a move to hit me. And I know HP Fire doesn't knock this thing out, but you know what I do instead? I stay in and click HP Fire. It doesn't knock it out, and my opponent has the Bulldoze, and he crits me. And I'm going to mention that crit because that actually did matter, because Bulldoze, I always live every single one if he's got no offense. And I would have been able to knock out the Ferrothorn the following turn because he's trapped in with Magnet Pull. So, I guess the hacks does even out because I crit his Mamoswine early on in the game, but still, that's just really annoying that I am not able to get rid of the Ferrothorn, as that will come into play a little bit later. As I go into Malamar, because I know Blacephalon's not free yet. Because I do this, I can actually live a U-turn from the Crobat as he goes for that. And this turn, I actually make the one good play in this whole game. I actually click Superpower expecting that to happen as he goes on to Hydreigon and just gets absolutely blown the hell back. So it is 5-5 right now, but it's still not looking that great. My Malamar is very low. My Heracross is basically dead. As he comes out and brings out Raichu, I know this thing will kill me, so I'm going to have to go out in the Goodra. I'm saving Malamar as a sack, as he's probably going to Volt Switch here. But at least sacking it this way as he goes out into the Mamoswine. Doing it this way means that he'll get an extra round of Life Orb damage. Where, again, that Icicle Crash miss would have been kind of nice, because you're going to see here he knocks me out with the Icicle Crash. He would have been at 7% instead of 17%, so it happens. Whatever. But here I can bring out the Clown here and just try and get some damage off, because Hydreigon's gone. I don't really see a great switch in. As he goes out into the Blastoise here, this is the best thing that's going to take a Shadow Ball. And this is a specially defensive Blastoise. That sucks a lot. He is like AV, I think. That's really bad. I'm really shocked he brought that, because I could have easily brought Superior, and that would have been like... Well, I guess Crobat's still an answer to that, but you get the gist. That I'm shocked that he's actually AV Blastoise, but seeing that means that I need Milotic and Goodra to just pull through in this game. And you're gonna see here as I go out in the Gudra here, I do have some pivots. I still have some sacks in the Bucephalon and Heracross, so it's not all lost yet. But my team has a hard time switching in and out because of the rocks and my lack of removal. Crobat comes out here as I just click the Dragon Pulse and get some solid chip on this thing. 40% is not that bad. I am gonna have to switch out here because yeah, I need my Gudra. I go into Bucephalon expecting Super Fang actually, as my opponent makes a good play and just U-turns out. And he can go out into the Blastoise. And at this point, I'm just going to Shadow Ball and get some chip on this thing. But he actually goes for Aqua Jet and he just knocks me out. So that really sucks. I didn't want to hard switch my Milotic just in case he doubled, which I thought he would do. But hey, it's fine. Milotic basically walls most of his team. And you're going to see here he goes out in the Ferrothorn. And guys, this is the big mattered. Because nothing on his team likes Scald except for Blastoise. And I beat Blastoise one-on-one every time. So because he has the Ferrothorn, I can't just wall his team with my... Well, it doesn't wall Raichu, but like Raichu can't switch into a Scald. You see what I'm trying to go at here. So that's why this Ferrothorn being around is actually a really big nuisance. Blastoise comes out as I just click Flamethrower. It does legit 0 to this thing. But I decided I'm going to have to tank a move in order to get a Toxic off on this Blastoise. So I'm just going to click Toxic. As he goes on down into the Raichu, expecting Milotic, that's fine. Because now I have a Toxic timer on the Raichu. So I guess that's kind of nice. Whittle that thing down a bit, so I can just click Dragon Pulse now as he full switches out. Maybe I should have Toxic here as he goes out into the Blastoise again, as I can get a little bit more chip on this thing. A Toxic might have been a little bit better, as I am going to stay in this time again and do the same exact play and just Toxic as I hit it. So now things still aren't that bad. He does Ice Beam. He crits me, which is really annoying because every bit of health matters on this Gudra. And now I just can't. That just sucks. So now I'm going to go on a Heracross and just sack it, maybe just in case he didn't want to double out, as he just Ice Beams. So at this point, it's really not looking too hot. It's still possible because his Blastoise is on a timer as well as the Raichu, as Milotic basically walls almost everything. But again, because this Ferrothorn is here, I can't do much. I'm going for... I need to recover first just to get up to a reasonable amount of health. And this Mamoswine also has 2 hits left in it instead of 1, so that's also kind of annoying. As I just Scald. At this point, I just want to burn, and I was expecting him to Gyro Ball as he does, so that's nice. Switching in Gudra is really risky here because any damage on that is bad. As I Scald again, just trying to get a burn, and I do get it this time. And that's good, but he does set up the Leech Seed on me this turn. And I'm thinking, well, since he's burned, Gyro Ball only does so much now to my Gudra, so I'm going to switch out and try and at least start pressing buttons. As I go on the Gudra, and I leave my Milotic at 60, and that's really big, because he just goes out in the Crobat, and that's like worst case scenario for me. And now, I know I die to a Brave Bird here, but I want to see if Milotic can take 2. But I do have Rocks and the Burn, so I do have to worry about that. Brave Bird comes out, and it does 23, but because of the burn damage, it's actually going to knock me out this next turn. And spoiler, guys, we lost. We just lost. Milotic goes down, and my Gudra cannot beat this entire team. So, guys, we are going to lose 5-0 to Hanch. We lost 6-0 last week, and now we lose 5-0. So, in 2 games in the APM, we have 1 kill. That's going to wrap it up for this game. GG to Hanch. I am really upset with how this game went. Week 1 against Enrique, we underprepared for Bronzong, and I just got destroyed because of it. And now in week 2, my prep was a lot better, and I don't think my prep was that bad. It was just I saw that Heracross and Magnezone was really well, and I threw them out the window. I just gave my opponent them. I was like, oh, hey, you can have these 2 mons for no reason. And that is just so upsetting that I've just been playing like that bad in the first 2 weeks of APM. We're 0-2 and -11, which is basically as bad as you can get. And my team doesn't really fit my play style a crazy ton. So there will be some changes in the future. I'm not sure what I'm going to be doing yet, but there will be. There was an audio glitch in the middle of the battle. I could not be bothered to change it after this night. So I do apologize for that inconvenience. And if my audio is a little bit off, I want to let you guys know about that. But again, we are 0-2. It does kind of suck that the Ferrothorn would have been gone if I didn't get crit by the Bulldoze. But if you saw my PTL video, what goes around basically comes around, right? Anyway, we are going to move on to next week. We're just going to look forward to the future. We are facing off against PokeFan, who is in our division. And he's got a pretty threatening team, so we'll see how that is next week. But I just want to end this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like. If you like Pokemon Draft League content, consider subscribing to the channel. I'm going to head out of here. Have a fantastic day, YouTube.